sad that you watch the Lorcana dads.
All right, welcome back to Lorcana Dads. Today it's just me, Jason. Today we're welcoming a guest for interview. We have Karl today. Karl is somebody that I met playing in the Birmingham scene. I met him playing at Gear Gaming, which is a great place to play if you're in the Birmingham area. Karl is somebody that when he speaks, I listen to. He has a lot of great insight into strategies, deck combos, and really ways to play, and he's a very good educator. He helps people that are new to the game feel comfortable to play. Karl, tell everybody about yourself, please.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be on here on Lorcana Dads with you. I really appreciate the time to talk with you today. Um, as you said, I've been active in the Birmingham trading card game community for quite a while. I've been at Gear since they opened several years ago. Before that, we had Excelsior that ran in town, several other card shops, and before that, spent some time in Tuscaloosa, your hometown. I had to represent the University
Yeah,
of
roll
Alabama.
tide.
Roll Tide, alumni from there, and actually taught computer science over there for 4 years before coming to Birmingham.
Good. Now, you started into your TCG background. When did you start? What was your first TCG?
So, my very first TCG, like several people, was probably the Pokemon trading card game. I feel like the people our age, you grew up with Pokemon, you had
Yeah,
to get into that a little bit when it first came out. But I never
absolutely.
got extremely competitive at that time. Plus, I was fairly young. I
Right.
started Magic in 2001 with 7th edition. For those of you that played, you got to remember the Thorn Elemental starter set that came out back then. Continued to play through university over at Alabama, actually ran organized play, got a card gaming club created at the university, and was able to run sanctioned F&M there. So I was a rule enforcement, I forget, it was REL. I don't remember what the abbreviation stood for, and then a level one judge with Magic. Continued playing that very competitively for about 10 years and then tapered off. I stopped playing Magic in 2020. I've been playing Weiss Schwartz, Shadowverse Evolve, several other card games. I played Pokemon competitively for 2 seasons as an adult, and most other card games you can think of, I've at least dabbled in, with the exception of Yu-Gi-Oh! For some reason, the small cards and large text just never quite fit with me. At the moment, I have been running Shadowverse Evolve and Lorcana as my primary card games, but I'm very excited about Star Wars Unlimited, which is actually releasing tomorrow.
Yeah. Everybody's been looking at that one. And that's why we have you on here is your wide array of knowledge. You bring a lot of knowledge to the scene that Joey and I don't have. I like to say that we're closer to beginners than we are grandmasters. So we like to reach out and bring a little bit more knowledge and a different perspective. So with all that said, all those different years of TCG, why did you choose Lorcana?
Well, I'm a bit of a Disney adult there. I had an annual pass for 3 or 4 years. I haven't been as much lately, but work used to put me in Orlando quite a bit. So I think one year I spent 45 days in the park was my
Wow.
record. But beyond that, it's been the community. So my girlfriend has played a couple of card games with me around the house. She'd help me practice, get reps in, but she would never consider going to a store to play. But the very first time we ran a draft for Lorcana, she was curious. She came up, she watched, and after the second week of league play, I don't think she's missed one yet. So
No.
it means a lot to me that Lorcana has such an excellent community. You have so many people that aren't your traditional card game players that'll come out. You have families that show up, you have kids, people that you would not expect to see in some of those traditional card games. And it's just such a great community. Plus, everybody loves Disney.
Right. That's something at both Izzy's and Gear Gaming that we've seen husband and wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, partners, and their kids all come in. we had a tournament Tuesday at Izzy's, and it was a man and his two kids and some other kids. They were all playing, So it's great that I know you see adults and kids in Pokemon, but not really full families, and that's what I like about this also. So you're a Disney fan. Do you have a favorite movie?
Um, I don't know. I think I would have to say Fantasia because I absolutely love Sorcerer Mickey.
Yeah,
It'd be close though because The Sword and the Stone is amazing. I
yeah.
absolutely love the wizard battle between Madame Mim and Merlin, which had me so excited for set two.
Oh yeah, it's a classic, and I think that's Joey's favorite movie. Mine's Robin Hood, so I was pretty ecstatic about Robin Hood being a big playable in this one. So we'll shift gears here, and what is your deck or play style of choice?
I have played a bit of everything in Lorcana. If you're really talking about my play style, I like to consider myself a bit of a Johnny that's leaning more towards Spike. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with the traditional terms for the player
No,
persona?
I'm not, and most of our viewers are kind of more about my speed.
So,
So,
just really quick, I'll run over that. Mark Rosewater, the developer of Magic, laid down the three classic personas of card game players. Timmy is your kitchen table player. They like big stuff. They're just kind of playing casually. They're not really getting seriously into it. Johnny is also called Johnny Combo. They like the big flashy combos. They're going to chase after those things and do fun things like that. That's kind of your people that are playing the beast one turn kill right now,
right.
or trying to build around that. And then the spikes are the people that just care about winning your tournaments. That's your highest level of competition. So a lot of the time you'll see your spikes are playing your aggro or your control decks, whereas your Johnnies are running more of your mid-range or tempo. So that's where I tend to lean towards that mid-range and tempo. If you go back
Okay.
to set one, I never really settled on a deck. Played a
Yeah.
little bit of Steel Song, but I floated around. Went into set two. I was hard on popsicle control for the beginning. I played
Hmm.
that for about 6 weeks and had
Yeah.
success with it. But then I shifted into Amber Emerald aggro, running Mufasa. Felt really good about that. And now I'm on a strong tempo deck. I'm actually playing Emerald Steel, but I'm not leaning towards the discard or the one turn kill combo. I really like the shift deck. So I'm really focused on running more, running a bunch of shift targets and playing that Chief Bogo.
Yeah. That's the one I played you with, the Chief Bogo Floodborn combo.
Yes, sir.
It was a very effective deck. Um, so we'll go back to chapter one and two. What were your favorite cards from that?
So, as I said, I love Fantasia. So, I was really excited about Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer. I wanted that to be a good card, and I tried so hard to make that work with the brooms, but it was never really an excellent deck. I also really liked the idea of Dr. Facilier, Agent Provocateur. Oh, I'm going to keep bringing stuff back, and I can really
Right.
go into it. But those didn't quite work out for me. So played some other stuff around it, but I think the card ideas are excellent. There's also a lot of cards that really held over. I mean, everybody's going to love Elsa, Be Prepared, Big Tinkerbell, the songs, all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. But I personally had a soft spot for Mickey Mouse and Dr. Facilier.
And,
Then, as we moved into set two, I liked Hiram a lot. As I said, I played Popsicle for about 6 weeks there, but it wasn't Hiram I was excited about. I was excited because Hiram and the Popsicle package turned on Tamatoa. Tamatoa was obviously from set one, but you never saw anybody play him in set
right.
one. Once you got into set two, the ability to bring back those items and stuff, that was just absolutely amazing. And although he didn't come in very often, he's on that 8 cost. If you got that Tamatoa down, you had won the game if they weren't removing it immediately. Absolutely loved that combo.
Yeah, the Mickey and Broom combo is still trying to hold over. People are still trying to make that work. And for good reason. I mean, people love their theme decks. And like we had talked about in one of our first episodes was the pirate decks and the villain decks. And those are starting to kind of work. I think pirate decks like considered a tier two deck, which is still competitive and playable.
Uh, I think that the red steel deck is Pirates is going to be tier one once they figure it out. I think it's very competitive.
Yeah, I think they
And
do the tiers by how many people play that versus like a win percentage. I think it's still, a 50% win ratio, which is good for any deck, right?
yeah, I mean, you're never going to be able to consistently hit more than 65% or something
Yeah.
like that. So anything that pushes you over 50% will get you there eventually.
So we talked a little bit about the past. We'll talk a bit about the present. What set three Inklands cards are you excited about?
I'm very excited about Morph. Much like I said with set two, Hiram enabled us to play Tamatoa. Morph enables us to play so many shift cards that
Right.
weren't working as well before. For example, even though Sad Beast was good, or Beast Tragic Hero was good before, being able to actually utilize his shift is amazing.
Yes.
Lorcana's been very linear in the past. You kind of knew what was going to go on because you didn't have a lot of different lines to play. Now, with my shift deck, if I've got Morph down on turn two, turn three, you don't know what's coming. I can bring in Beast Tragic Hero. I can bring in the new Robin Hood. I can bring in Helga. Or I can take a more classic line of just playing a three cost. I can put down Ursula, Deceiver of All. There's so many different lines that come up, and if the opponent doesn't know what you're doing, you have more opportunity to win, as long as you can keep them on their back foot. So that's what I'm very excited about. Morph just opens up a whole world of play.
Yeah.
In
So many
addition to that,
strategies off of that.
yeah, I'm also excited for Ursula Deceiver, the two cost and Bare Necessities. They have a new mechanic that we've never seen in Lorcana before. I can look at your deck now and I can remove cards from it. We've had discard, but it's always been random or something the other person chose. Now I'm making a decision what to get rid of your
Yeah.
hand. So I think that's going to really bring this to a complete trading card game.
Yes. I've been excited about those too because set two, we had nothing to hide. You could look at the deck, you couldn't do anything about it. It gave you a card. So it was good to see what your opponent was doing, but now you can actively attack their hand and prevent their strategy. So that is very good. Um, so we've been talking about the meta. What is your opinion on the meta or a couple top decks?
So I think there's going to be some adjustment in the meta. Steel is so strong right now. I think we've got three viable Emerald Steel decks. You have the discard, you have the one turn kill, you have the shift version that I'm playing at the moment. Blue Steel has an opportunity. They just took second at a very large tournament, running a lot of ramp as well as protection with the resist off of Cogswell. That looked like a really strong deck. It'll be interesting to see where Steel Song ends up. They
Hmm.
did win a recent large tournament, although there was only one Steel Song in the top 16. So it may be a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, a little bit of deck building. I'm not sure what's going to come out of that. Hopefully, we're going to see a little decline in the Ruby Amethyst deck. I think the ability to remove songs is going to hurt them. They can't keep that be prepared
Right.
like they have in the past. So maybe that's going to change things up. Although they do get a lot of benefit out of that passive lore from locations. Queen's
Yes.
Castle, RLS Legacy, those are really impressive cards.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
people are
think it's
playing the Agrabah too.
yes, Agrabah is also good. Um, I think that we're in for one of the most interesting seasons so far. And I think that's really why we finally have a complete Lorcana. Before, things were pretty linear. You didn't have some of the options that you had, but now that we've released set three, all of the lines are open. We have some of the first alternative win conditions. We had that before, but now gaining lore off of playing Ink, it's very strong. I think we're going to be able to use Shere Khan to gain that lore off of attacking, as
Hmm.
well as as well as Robin Hood gaining lore off of their attacks. There's just a lot of new ways to play, and that's going to lend itself to building better decks and developing a better game.
And that's something in set two. I tried to play a challenger deck around Shere Khan and the Aladdin. But now the Robin Hood adds you an additional card that you can shift on turn 3 and just really kind of claw back lore and attack for lore. So we're seeing a lot more diversity in the meta. I think Ruby Amethyst is always going to be there,
Right.
but it won't have such a large share and it won't be so oppressive like it has been before. Because you had tournaments that were basically banning Ruby Amethyst, and that's not completely fair in my opinion. You'll have a ban list of cards eventually, like Magic always had a ban list, and Pokemon I think had some ban lists. But to
It's going to
ban
be
out,
interesting to see if Lorcana does any sort of set rotation. I know they haven't announced that yet, but with the announcement of organized, well, not organized play, but official tournaments, a world championship coming early next year, I expect they won't have any rotation soon, but it'll be curious if one day we see set one move out of the standard play and be outlawed, or the creation of a legacy format and a standard format or something like that.
right?
Personally, I hope they don't do a set rotation, but it'll be an interesting time to see what Ravensburg decides to do.
Well, that's so far they've released the information on the set 3 tournament for the Surfer Stitch Enchanted.
Yes.
Supposedly, the rumor has that it's only going to be set 3 cards. People have said that there's been some clarification in the Discord, so right now that water's a little muddy. I think it would be a little difficult to make a deck of just set 3 cards. So I'm hoping that's not true, but so we're looking a little bit towards the future. What do you think the future holds for Lorcana?
I think the future's bright. I believe that bringing in a lot of the non-traditional players has really helped. At least locally, the communities have been excellent. I know the online community around Lorcana has had some issues at times, but every local community I've ran into has been excellent. There's a couple of shops that play and everybody's great there. I think that the excitement around Disney, the large tournaments that have been going on, there's been several Pixel-born tournaments with prize pools in the thousands. There's been a couple of 2Ks and 5Ks. I believe there's an Atlanta tournament coming up with $8,000 worth of prizes.
Yes, I believe that's outside of Atlanta, March 16th and 17th.
I believe that's it. So that'll be good as long as they can keep the price of singles reasonable, which I believe they're doing with the enchantments. I think that it's going to be a very healthy community. We're seeing availability come up. I'm excited about the long-term potential of Lorcana.
But is there any advice that you would give to beginner players?
Have fun. That's the most important thing, right? But if you want to get serious about playing, and you don't have to, right? You can have fun and not try to win every tournament that you're in. But if you really want to move to that next step and try to play at a competitive level, do your research online. I know some people frown on net decking, but the decks that are winning tournaments are a lot of the best ones. So look at that and then analyze your local scene. So a lot of the times you're going to be shifting out cards based on what others are playing. So in your local community, if you see nobody else is playing aggression, then you don't have to worry about that low end, or perhaps you may want to lean more heavily into aggression. See what works and make those small changes in your deck to get towards a final product. One of the biggest things that excites me about Lorcana is the way inking cards works. A lot of card games, you'll have a sideboard. So, hey, I've got my land and I've got my deck. But if I'm playing my second game, I realize these cards are bad. I'm going to put these other cards in. With Lorcana, you don't have to swap cards out because you can have two different play styles in the same deck, or a small amount of cards for another play style in your deck that you just know you're going to ink if you look at them. But hey, they're there for that turn that you need it. We saw that a lot in set 2 with Benja. Because he would remove items, so you would run him for removal. So really get your deck, learn to play it for a while, and then look and see what other people are playing and see if you can't adjust your deck to have a better chance of winning around that. And if you're going to a larger tournament, look at the larger group of what's being played. So start checking those Pixelborn tournament, see what's out there and see if you can't predict. Oh, Ruby Amethyst is winning everything. What can I do against that? Well, Mufasa's a really good answer to be prepared, so maybe I'm going to slide a few extra Mufasas in. Or, oh, Steel is really happy at the moment. We're seeing a lot of Steel. That's a lot of removal. Let me get that resist in. Because I can tell you, playing a Steel deck, when I see Tiana hit the table, I just get very sad because
Yeah.
none of my direct damage matters anymore. So think about what you're playing, learn to play one deck, focus on it, and then make those small tweaks. And get to know a couple of the good players in your area. I think there are some very high level players in most communities. I wouldn't even consider myself one of those, but we do have some of the strongest players in the state here in Birmingham that are excellent assets.
That's why I'll travel 45 miles to go to Birmingham to play because it makes me a better player. Yes, I lose and I lose more than I win, but by listening to how other people talk, seeing how they play, learning from the mistakes I make from misplays. A misplay is not bad if you don't learn anything from it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're misplaying and you keep do that again, then that's bad. But if you learn something to improve on your next match, then can't be a bad thing.
That's it.
So that's good to just listen to your community, be active in it, and learn from others. So this is a very good interview, Karl. I learned a lot, and we thank you for being on here. We appreciate your time, and for all of you out there, thank you for watching.
Now don't forget to smash that like button.
And hit that share for our friends on the other side.
And don't forget to turn on all those bell notifications.
And we'll see you on the next video.